Okay, thank you everybody for joining me for this session this morning in Paris Retail Week. My name is Sares, and I'm the VP of EMEA for Rapyd. Rapyd is a fintech as a service company, and I'll dive a little more into what we do at a later stage of this presentation. It's a privilege to be here on stage in Paris after so many months, almost 2 years of closure and COVID, where we're all at home. Been running around our own communities. So it's a great experience to be back on stage again, and I'm looking forward to an open discussion at a later stage. As we've seen over the recent years, the global e-commerce sales have been expanding on a consistent growth level of anywhere between 10 and 15% year over year. Come COVID in 2019, giving this market a significant boost, extending this growth to almost 30% over just 1 year, actually catching up 3 or 4 years of growth. This is a completely exceptional growth, and this has been a great opportunities for many businesses. For some businesses, especially local businesses, going online was a matter of staying alive or surviving. Stores being closed down required people, physical retailers, to find a way to go live, to maintain their business and to strive. So it's either you found a way to go online, or you actually went out of business. The growth we've been seeing across the world varies between different countries and different territories. Some countries are still very localized in terms of the e-commerce business, where some other countries show a very large growth, going up to over 60% in countries like Australia and Canada. So you, as an online retailer, it is very important for you to research specifically the markets where you have the best product market fit for your specific products. Looking at a world on a global base is no longer more relevant. You need to look into the details. Data is there, and you need to start looking into the details and find the right locations for you. What we at Rapyd have seen over the last 2 years, and this is also shown in market researches by different companies, that companies that have been successful in expanding their global business have basically focused on 3 pillars. The first pillar is the infrastructure, mainly connecting the online and the physical. Some people call it omni-channel, but in a more specific term, I would say, is harmonizing the customer experience across both the online and the physical shopping experience in your store. Things like buy online, pick in store, buy online, be able to return and exchange in store, and also things like actually identifying your customer when they walk into the store. Obviously, when a customer buys online, they're fully identified. You know who they are, you know what they bought, when they bought. When they walk into the store, they're completely anonymous. There are technologies out there today that enable you to identify and personalize the shopping experience in store for your customers that are walking into the door. The other pillar is localization. Now that you are seeing global customers coming into your store, you need to make sure that the shopping experience is localized. Localized meaning local languages. Localized meaning showing your products on a localized URL. Being localized is meaning showing them their local currency. The more localized the customer will feel your service, your sales process, the more comfortable they will be to complete the payment process. And last but not least, and the part that is probably has the greatest effect on shopping cart abandonment, is the checkout experience. You really need to make sure that you do this checkout optimization in the right way. Checkout optimization meaning offering the customer local payment methods. In different countries, customers are used to pay using different local payment methods, and we'll go specifically into that in a later slide. But it's not only the local payment method, it's also the payment flow, it's also the language, it's also the way this fits on the mobile screen, because we're seeing more and more customers today completing their purchases on the mobile, through a mobile experience. One thing or an interesting way to look at the world is to see the growth of the different e-commerce markets, how fast these markets expand, versus the use of local payment methods across these markets. What we can see on this slide is that some of these markets show a significant growth, but you can only capitalize on this growth if you're offering local payment methods to your customers. Offering what we would call international payment methods like cards will not work in many of these countries, resulting in a drop of sales of up to 80% across most of these countries that you see in blue in this slide. Looking on a global base, and again, we're sitting here in Paris, the heart of Europe. Everybody has a credit card in the wallet or a credit card already in their Google app or Apple Pay app on their mobile phone. Some of us didn't even take out their card out of a wallet for many, many years or months now. But in the rest of the world, numbers are completely different, and the customers are paying with completely different payment methods than what we are used here. So if we continue to look at the world as the world that we are familiar with around the corner, we will end up with losing a lot of business. Digital wallets, mobile wallets, are now showing a strong presence of more than 50% in many of the global markets around the world, while credit cards and debit cards on a global basis are much smaller than this. We see bank transfers and direct debit picking up, especially again in Europe because of the open banking and the PSD2 activities, but this is starting to grow across other markets. It also depends on the ticket value. Obviously, credit cards, mobile wallets are used for smaller ticket items, where bank transfers, direct debits are used for higher tickets, and direct debits for probably more recurring payments is where we see them most often used. One of the other things we've seen across COVID is the abundance of cash. Cash was a strong payment method, cash on delivery, prepayment in cash, post-payment in cash in many countries. This has completely disappeared in most areas of the world. Buy now, pay later, the BNPL market, which is growing across specific markets, mainly in the Nordics, but also picking up in Europe, is still a relatively small part of the business, but it is growing. Coming into the market, new credit options, new technologies, we will see this market or this payment option continue to make traction, but it will take it a long time to be as big as even the credit cards or the bank transfers in the foreseeable future. So basically, in the bottom line, what I would say is that today, over 60% on a global basis of the online payments are performed through locally preferred methods. So if you want to act globally, you cannot miss out on providing your customers the ability to pay with local payment methods. But the downside of providing your customers with local payment methods is the complexity. If you're now trying to target customers in more than just one country, the effort of connecting today to local payment methods is significant. You have to identify the local provider. And in many markets, there are more than one provider. Some markets in Asia have tens of different local payment methods that you would like to offer. You need to find these providers. You need to contract with them. You need to integrate with them. You need to manage the relations with them, manage the reconciliation of the payments from them. Some of them will only pay locally, so you will need to set up a local entity. You will need to have a way of taking out these funds out of the country and settling them into your bank accounts globally. This is something that even a large global corporate cannot achieve on its own. You can maybe do it on one country, on two countries, but you cannot do it on a global scale. And this is where you need to find the right partner that will provide you access into these markets in a very simple and cost-effective way. With respect to the checkout checklist and some of the lessons that we've learned, I just want to summarize this, although I did repeat some of, or said this, some of this earlier. It needs to be localized in the terms of you're showing the local payment methods that are relevant to each buyer for the purchase they're making. A small amount of purchase, or a purchase of a small amount, will require you to show them maybe their wallet. A high ticket will require you to show them a bank transfer or a direct debit capability. You want to keep this updated. In certain markets, the local payment methods change, as fast as on a quarterly basis, I would say. Some methods get, to be preferred by the customers. Some are abandoned, and you need to keep this up to date on a constant basis. And more, you need to add your prices in the local payment methods and take care of the FX risks when managing payments in a local currency. Just a couple of examples of how to integrate, or how different local payment methods are integrated across a mobile experience. There is a lot of engineering being put into taking these local payment methods that all have different customer experience and customer journeys and putting them all under a unified customer experience that carries your brand all the way from start to finish vis-a-vis your customers. This is a significant challenge for retailers. One other tip before I move into the next top topic in my presentation is refunds. We're all used to refunding through a card payment here in Europe. It's a click of a button and you refund your customers. Many of the local payment methods that I've described earlier do not support refunding capabilities, but you still need to refund your customers as part of the service that you are providing to your customers. And an automated process of being able to collect funds through one payment method and then at a click of a button refund the customer to a payment method they hold that is able to accept refunds is a completely new magic that you need to take into account. In the first parts of my presentation, I've covered a B2C experience when you're collecting money from consumer customers. But every successful B2C business has its B2B back office, I would say. Payments that you need to make to your suppliers, to your downstream partners, marketing agencies, logistic companies. When you do this on a global basis, you end up collecting money. Let's say you're selling in Japan. You're collecting money in Japanese yen. You're settling these Japanese yen in euro to your head office in Paris. Now you have to pay a marketing firm in Tokyo. Now you have to exchange these euros back into Japanese yens and send the money all the way to Japan in a payment method which is typically a cross-border, a SWIFT payment which is relatively expensive, all the way back into Japan to the same marketing company. Imagine you can hold these balances in a country, in the local currency, and offset these payments from the collections that you're making. Imagine on the time efficiency, the cost efficiency, the complexity of managing your local payments and local collections on the B2B side when you're combining this with your B2C collections. Basically, if you look at the back end of your business, and for these finance people and operations people in the audience or at home, joining us remotely from home, you can actually be looking at a digital distributed ledger that enables you to run funds on a global platform, on a virtual global platform, without having to physically move funds between currencies, between countries, all dynamically and digitally, to support your payment collection and your payment disbursement on the other side. So we're not talking only about efficiencies and optimizations on the consumer side of the business. We're also talking about efficiencies on the backstage, on the back end of your business, on the B2B side of your business. A lot of challenges I've been presenting here today. I did not come here to frustrate you. I came here to give you an optimistic view of the world and show you that things are changing and that there are solutions out there today that enable you to quickly grow on your cross-border business and optimize your B2B side of the business as well. We are seeing today across the world companies offering a fintech as a service or embedded fintech services that enable global retailers, global companies to connect through a single API, a single contract, into a platform that will open the world of global finance to you. No longer you need to go and integrate into each and every one of these payment methods. One API, one business agreement, and you open the world for all of these financial services. This is not only the payment collection. This is collecting money, this is holding money, this is disbursing money, this is providing FX services, KYB, KYC, risk, fraud management, compliance services, all under one API connected to a global payment network. This is how you're also able now to create a localized or customized customer experience branded to your own needs through these white label fintech as a service platforms. I'd like to take a couple of minutes and go through a couple of, actually 3 use cases, real live customer experiences that we've gone through with some of our customers to show you how using such a fintech as a service platform or an embedded fintech platform, you can actually optimize your business and quickly scale into new markets. Emma Sleep, which I'm sure many of you or all of you know, and some of you probably sleep on Emma Sleep merchants at night, was very popular in Europe. They were building their global expansion, specifically into Asia Pacific first. And they were starting to see, okay, how do we build and expand into these markets on the payment side? Being a company that is selling physical goods, they needed to have local operations. So they had actually set up local entities in the different countries, but yet they've identified that now integrating into the local payment methods, collecting the local payment methods, reconciling the payment files on a global basis is something they cannot do on their own. And this is where they reached out to Rapyd, and we have built for them the infrastructure that through, again, one API, one contract, they were able to collect all of the local payment methods across the 5 Asian Tiger countries, collect locally, hold and disburse locally, pay their suppliers locally, manage their local reconciliation, and also their global reconciliation on a corporate level. This is all under one API. I think it took them from start to finish something that no longer than 3 months from the day we met them to the day they went live after the commercial integrations, technical negotiations, and testing. Another example is SmartTrike, and those of you in the audience that have small kids at home probably have one of their products in your garage or basement, and if you don't, I really invite you to have one. They're not cheap, but they're very good. SmartTrike is a global company selling trikes or scooters for toddlers. They operate globally, and when they were looking at their data, they've identified that they have very, very, very low single-digit acceptance rate in Japan. They started looking at it, and they've identified that people are abandoning their local checkout because they did not have local payment methods in Japan. Again, one integration opened up the Japanese market for them. Acceptance now is high in the 80s and 90% success, in par with what they're seeing across the rest of the globe. So just example of a simple, very focused approach in one country can open up that country for you very, very quickly. And as you see, just an example of the different payment options that we do support in Japan for them. You know, if you counted something like 15 or 20 local payment methods, each opening up or enabling their business in Japan. The last example is I would say a B2B business. Keynote, half of the audience here is probably well familiar with Keynote, the Japanese cosmetic brand. They are selling in Europe to hairdressers, saloons. They sell it on a net 30 invoicing scheme. But the issue is that if a hairdresser has not paid their invoice, they're not able to make a repeated order. So they're losing on business and they have frustrated customers. What we have offered them is an online invoicing system, mass invoicing system, where they can actually send the customer a digital invoice with a link for payment. So when a customer does not pay their bill on time and they call the support and they say, I really need more shampoos today because I ran out of stock, they tell them, okay, we're sending you an email now with a link, you press the link and you pay. And automatically, in a matter of minutes, they settle the invoice and they can order new products again. So this is an example of settling this on a B2B, on the B2B side, optimizing and combining different payment methods to meet a business challenge that KO had. Couple of words about Rapyd, just to connect the dots between the things that I've mentioned earlier. Rapyd is a fintech as a service company or embedded fintech company. And actually, you can look at us as having two major legs. One leg is the connection into the global payment network. We are connected to 900 plus local payment methods around the world for both collection and disburse, supporting local collections, local disbursements, local collection, global disbursements. We're a regulated financial entity, so we actually touch the money. Rapyd is not only a technical company, and we'll speak about the technical capabilities in a second, but we are a regulated fintech company that actually moves the funds for you on your behalf or holds and retains the funds in a digital ledger functionality across our own regulation in the different countries where we operate. On the other hand, Rapyd is a technology platform, is an API-driven platform that enables our customers to connect through one API, a very modern API, into our network and use our services for collecting, holding, and disbursing funds across the world. We're a principal member of Visa and MasterCard for both card acquiring and issuing in Europe, in APAC, shortly in the Americas. So we actually offer our customers a complete set of services for, again, collecting, holding, and disbursing funds on a global basis. In addition to the handling of the funds and the payment network that we own, we also provide FX services, digital identity verification, automatic onboarding of merchants, risk management, fraud management, compliance monitoring of the transactions across all payment methods. So by integrating to Rapyd, you don't need to worry about integrating into other service providers. You get all of these services under one umbrella. We're a relatively new company. We were founded in 2015, R&D center back in Tel Aviv in Israel. We're today a little over 550 employees, and we have raised today north of $770 million, which is what enabled us to achieve this global presence in a relatively very short time frame. We operate in 100 plus countries. We hold funds in 85 plus local currencies. We enable, now it's grew to over 1,000 different payment methods. We're showing 100% growth year over year in both revenues and transaction processing volume that we serve on behalf of our customers. And we are serving today 600 plus, 650 plus enterprise customers and 15,000 SMB clients. At Rapyd, we have a self-service onboarding, so our services, including all the services that I outlined here, are also made available through our APIs to small merchants that can self-onboard to the Rapyd platform, connect, and immediately start collecting funds across the world. So on one hand, we support the very small merchants, the SMEs, the S and the M of the SMEs, and on the other hand, we are able to support the very large global corporates on their global collection. just in time to see if you have any questions from the audience or maybe any questions from people at home.
On a des questions, effectivement. We have a question for you. Do you have a microphone, please? Camille, si tu as un micro pour monsieur. Can you just stand up, tell us who you are? A microphone is coming. And ask your question to Saral.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation, really nice. Two questions. The first one is, how is the commission of the business model? And the second one, how you have any traction in Latam? I mean, Chile, Argentina, Colombia? Okay, can you hear me better?
Yes,
Okay,
better.
sorry. Okay, so the first question is, how is the business model? You have a conversion rate per transaction. And the second one is, if you have any traction in local markets in Latam, like Chile, Argentina, Peru?
Yes, thank you for the question. For the first part, we try and make it very simple. We don't have onboarding fees or platform fees or monthly fees, ongoing services, no long-term commitments, no lock-ins, nothing. You pay what you consume. We compare ourselves to the AWS, the Amazon AWS of fintech. You pay for what you consume. You don't consume, you don't pay. And the payment is per transaction based on the cost of effecting this transaction. So a card transaction in Europe will be interchange plus a very small margin. A cash payment in Mexico will have a different cost, or an e-wallet in Malaysia will again have a different cost based on the actual cost. As for your question about Latin America, we have significant traction in Latin America. We have our own operations in Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, and I think another 1 or 2 countries. And we support very large global businesses doing business, either collecting and dispersing in the country or collecting and dispersing, or collecting in the country, dispersing outside of the country, and also people paying in from Europe or from other parts in the world into Latin America. So yes, we support all of the different payment methods and capabilities in Latin America, just like we do in Asia Pacific and in Europe and the rest of the world.
Thank you for your question. Do we have other questions in the audience? Est-ce que vous avez des questions dans la salle?
Anyway, you have my email and my phone number.
They can call you.
Happy to touch base and connect with anyone here to follow up any other questions and any business opportunities, of course.